Boom, boom, boom. High above the ferocious soul domain, amidst the endless demonic sea, terrifying waves of energy still rippled, disturbing the minds of all those present. The sounds of furious fighting and enraged roars echoed, relentlessly striking at the hearts of everyone around. This cataclysm seemed far from over. Thunder Lord, our alliance is running out of forces. Even the reinforcements from the boundless fire domain have been decimated, with countless casualties. If this continues, the ferocious soul domain will surely fall. At the altar of the ferocious soul domain, a group of elderly leaders in charge of command spoke with grave expressions, their eyes filled with deep concern. At any cost, we must protect the last remaining piece of land here. And, Chief Judge, Chief Arbiter, weren't you two the ones obsessed with obtaining the sacred flame from Xiao Yan? You even put him on your kill list? Now, you're relying on others. How laughable. The Thunder Lord snorted coldly, her gray eyes slowly gazing at the group of leading elders. She was not like Duan Qifei, nor would she indulge others in such a weak and submissive manner. Even though these were the true high-ranking officials of the ferocious soul domain. For someone of the Thunder Lord's strength, these so-called leaders would have long been wiped out. But for the Thunder Lord's generals, the warriors of the ancient era who followed her, they were real men with blood and flesh. Cough, cough. The elders, exposed by the Thunder Lord's sharp words, remained silent, only awaiting her next order. What the Thunder Lord said was true, and this made their faces flush with embarrassment. In the demonic sea, in the thick, eerie waters, there seemed to be a familiar aura that caused the Thunder Lord to pause for a moment. But the disturbance was fleeting, barely perceptible. Master, the seven-eyed evil god has completely fallen. Duan Qifei descended from the sky world, returning to the altar, her voice gentle as she spoke. Fallen? The Thunder Lord nodded slightly upon hearing this, though something felt off. But mostly, she was shocked. Xiao Yan, with only the strength of the fifth reincarnation stage, was able to crush the seven-eyed evil god, who was at the sixth reincarnation stage. A battle beyond one's rank? What kind of incredible skill was required for that? Impossible. If the seven-eyed evil god has fallen, then why haven't we seen any sign of retreat from the countless evil armies in the demonic sea? Even now, their offensive is more ferocious than ever. The information from the Domain Lord, I fear. The leading elders, headed by the Chief Judge and Chief Arbiter, immediately rejected Duan Qifei's report. The seven-eyed evil god was completely obliterated by Xiao Yan, the lord of the boundless fire domain. Are you suggesting that this domain lord is fabricating such a tale? Duan Qifei snorted coldly, showing no respect for these elders. The issues of the ferocious soul domain had been controlled by these two individuals in the past, leading to numerous mistakes. While Duan Qifei had long cleared out the internal troubles of the ferocious soul domain, these elders were too crucial to the domain's operation, and she had been unable to remove them, thus leaving a lingering danger. For a moment, the entire altar was filled with chatter, but no matter the situation, the Thunder Lord refrained from interfering with Duan Qifei. Duan Qifei was her disciple, her reincarnation, yet she hoped for her to handle matters on her own. After all, one day, Duan Qifei would have to stand alone as a formidable force. There's another theory. The seven-eyed evil god was not the final commander of the extraterritorial evil clan's army? As tensions escalated at the altar, Yun Qi, who had always remained quiet while maintaining the protective array, spoke up. What? Upon hearing these words, the entire altar fell into a deathly silence, for everyone understood the implication of Yun Qi's words. That meant there was an even more powerful, terrifying being within the extraterritorial evil clan, someone stronger than the seven-eyed evil god? Boom, boom. Thunder Lord, Domain Lord, everyone. Bad news. The Water Army and Thunder Army of the ferocious soul domain have been completely destroyed by the demonic sea forces. They're like a relentless flood of beasts, launching suicidal attacks with their utmost strength. Our joint army is about to collapse. Just 10 more minutes, and the advantage we painstakingly built will shatter in an instant. At the altar, a blood-soaked, ferocious soul guard rushed in, his voice grave and heavy as he spoke, relaying the dire news to the high-ranking leaders present. Duan Qifei, I leave the ferocious soul domain headquarters to you. I'll go investigate the demonic sea. The Thunder Lord declared, swiftly moving with a sense of urgency. I have this strange feeling that this battle is far from over. Watching the Thunder Lord depart, Yun Qi could only shake her head slightly. But now, her focus was entirely on Xiao Yan. It wasn't out of affection, but rather something to do with the elusive connection between their past and present lives. Was it all mere illusion? Or was there a deeper mystery at play? The ferocious soul guards lay quietly dormant on the altar, waiting for orders to be given. Whether to advance or retreat depended entirely on a single word from here. If what the Realm Lord said is true, and the evil god has fallen, then the vast army in the demonic sea is no longer a threat. Such ferocious attacks are simply their final struggle before death. By uniting the forces of the boundless fire domain and attacking the demonic sea together, we will swiftly capture them all. After a brief discussion among the chief judges of the tribunal, they completely ignored Domain Lord Duan Qifei and directly issued orders to the ferocious soul guards. Unite with the boundless fire domain's coalition and retreat. Clear the void battlefield outside the headquarters formation. Summon all reincarnation stage and above powerhouses to defend the last sanctuary. Leave the rest to us. Duan Qifei spoke faintly, evidently making this decision after weighing her options. Duan Qifei, what are you afraid of? Now is the best time to press the advantage. Who can take responsibility for delaying this opportunity? The chief judges were enraged, openly accusing Duan Qifei. After all, they had their own support. Many forces in the tribunal and the judicial hall were their trusted allies. If they refused to obey, Duan Qifei's position as the Realm Lord would be nothing more than a nominal title. Teacher is right. As a commander, one can never show weakness or allow oneself to be controlled. Stay here in peace. If you don't comply, then die. Her calm voice, coupled with the 1,000-mechanism ghost umbrella, exuded a great sense of authority, suppressing them. It was only at that moment that cold sweat began to form on their brows. In the past, they could suppress Duan Qifei's growing dominance using their status as ferocious soul domain veterans and controlling many classified resources. But now, the entire sky of ferocious soul domain had changed. Orders flowed one after another from Duan Qifei's lips in an orderly manner. Strange. Why haven't we seen the 10 Ghost Kings of the Ghost Realm Center and the Ghost Realm powerhouses controlled by the extraterritorial evil clan? Yuan Yin raised her plump face, maintaining the erase operation, but a sense of foreboding began to rise within her. I hope I'm just overthinking. After a moment, she looked up to see a streak of gray thunder light shooting through the demonic sea. Yuan Yin shook her head and continued activating the array to resist the encroaching demonic aura. All right, go down for now. The Ghost Realm situation is basically over, but there's still much to be done with the remaining time. In the Sky World, Yun Yun and Mu Yingying exchanged a glance before Yun Yun sighed and spoke, the anger she had felt earlier finally dissipating. Earlier, Xiao Yan had been in a life-threatening state, which had truly caused both women to lose control, almost leading to a major disaster. However, Xiao Yan had been helpless, as the pressure of the light forbidden technique was simply too bizarre. Fortunately, nothing unexpected had occurred. Good. Xiao Yan smiled, his teeth flashing, as he waved his hand. The flame god's cauldron disappeared instantly, and the soul essence of the seven-eyed evil god was stored away, to be used later once this matter was settled. However, the overwhelming soul power might be enough to help Xiao Yan make further progress in the spirit-wandering realm. Though he could not aspire to the legendary Supreme Divine Realm Soul, this was still a decent gain from the journey. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. His body trembled, and within a few breaths, the three of them arrived on the altar of the ferocious soul domain headquarters below. What's going on? Upon returning to the altar and seeing Duan Qifei's solemn expression, along with the few elders bound by the power of the evil artifacts, Xiao Yan asked in confusion. Looking up, Xiao Yan noticed that the overwhelming evil aura in the demonic sea showed no sign of receding, which caused his expression to shift slightly. The war doesn't seem to be over. Has the seven-eyed evil god truly perished? Could a trace of his power have escaped? Yunqi walked up and spoke softly, her silver teeth flashing. But as she approached Xiao Yan, the so-called energy of past lives and present had no reaction whatsoever. It seemed that this force, this fluctuation, only manifested at certain moments. The seven-eyed evil god was indeed slain by me, and no power escaped. His form and spirit have been completely eradicated. Xiao Yan shook his head and spoke calmly. This was not a matter to be taken lightly. But, as Xiao Yan's confident words fell, an atmosphere of confusion spread across the altar, and doubts filled their minds. Where's the Thunder Lord? After a brief pause, Yun quietly asked, seeming to realize that this formidable figure had now disappeared without a trace. Teacher suspected that there are still other powers in the demonic sea. He entered alone to investigate. There seems to be some strange energy there. Duan Qifei glanced at Yun, then turned her gaze to the rolling demonic aura in the murky demonic sea, seemingly understanding something. Let's go. Xiao Yan's heart jolted, a flash of astonishment crossing his face. As soon as his words fell, the two women, Duan Qifei, Yunqi, and others, rushed forward together, heading straight for the demonic sea. If the seven-eyed evil god had fallen, yet the forces within the demonic sea remained unaffected, it could only mean one thing. There were likely even more troublesome beings lurking inside. Gather the troops and guard the perimeter of the formation. Be ready to assist those inside the demonic sea at any moment. At this moment, Yuan Yin had no choice but to take charge, giving the orders. Boom! Within the dim, turbulent waters of the demonic sea, violent bolts of dark light shot out. The evil aura and the nameless, eerie force caused any creature foolish enough to enter to become lost in its depths. Are they all dead? The Xiao clan's descendants, truly formidable. Oh, someone's already come? Then let's have some fun. There's still a little time left. Deep within the endless, dark demonic sea, a faint laugh filled with disdain seemed to float up, as if mocking everything. This demonic sea. What on earth is going on? The Thunder Lord stepped into the sea. Despite the countless gray lightning bolts surrounding him, protecting him, he still felt a heavy, oppressive aura, as if something terrifying resided deep within the demonic sea, something that instilled fear. Who? At that moment, the currents of the demonic sea twisted, and a figure in a gray robe emerged from its depths. Who are you? The Thunder Lord's eyes were sharp, but he could not see through the figure's body or discern its true power. Yet, as the figure appeared, the once chaotic waters of the demonic sea immediately calmed. An invisible, overwhelming authority seemed to blanket the entire sea. Who? At the same time, the sea churned as eerie figures began to emerge, their expressions strange and unsettling. This is Mu Feng from the Boundless Fire Domain, the Ghost Abyss Domain, the Master of the No-Return Furnace. Names that were all too familiar kept pouring out of the Thunder Lord's mouth. Before him stood these soulless figures, their eyes devoid of life, like puppets controlled by another's will. Ryup. Nearly a dozen figures, filled with a murderous and malevolent aura, all turned their greedy eyes toward the Thunder Lord. Their ominous, vengeful glares seemed to desire tearing him into countless pieces, devouring him bit by bit. Aren't you the one searching for me all this time? The demonic sea roared, and even the void trembled slightly. The man in the gray robe, with a youthful and delicate face, wore a cold, eerie smile as he stepped forward. Who exactly are you? Your aura? It's exactly the same as that of the person who once competed with me for the 1,000-mechanism ghost god umbrella. Gray lightning began to swirl in the Thunder Lord's eyes, gathering into a silent storm. My name is Xuan Ming. The man in gray glanced at the Thunder Lord, a faint smile curling on his lips as he watched the changing expressions. He seemed to take great pleasure in it. Xuan Ming? The Thunder Lord stared at the figure before him, and a cold, sinister light appeared in his gray eyes. Perhaps you don't know my name, but I also have another one. A name you should be very familiar with. Realm Lord of the Ghost Abyss Domain. Thunder Lord. I've heard much about you. A faint laugh emanated from Xuan Ming's face, mixed with a sense of incomparable confidence. So it's really you. When Xuan Ming revealed his identity, the Thunder Lord reacted calmly, showing no surprise. I am about to become the ruler of the new world. Thunder Lord, would you be willing to become my wife? For a moment, Xuan Ming's expression flickered with a hint of excitement, and he chuckled. With his plan almost complete, someone like him, a chosen one of heaven, could only see the likes of Thunder Lord or Yao Ji as his equals in the entire Great Thousand Worlds. Ha ha ha. You are not worthy. Though the Thunder Lord didn't know exactly what Xuan Ming was scheming, she knew who she was. Setting aside the Xiao clan for now, just Xuan Ming's peak six-fold reincarnation stage power was not enough to think he could claim her. Ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Her ideal partner was an extraordinary genius. At the very least, someone like Xiao Ming, who stood at the peak of this world. As for Xuan Ming, he was nothing more than an ant in the Thunder Lord's eyes, not even worthy of carrying her shoes. You bring this upon yourself. Take good care of her. With a roar, Xuan Ming's body vanished into the demonic sea, and the controlled figures began to radiate evil power, slowly surrounding the Thunder Lord. The strength of these dozens of figures was surprisingly formidable, ranging from the second reincarnation stage to the fourth reincarnation stage. Boom! Thunderous roars shook the heavens and earth, but the Thunder Lord found herself in a rather difficult situation. It seemed that her supreme lightning power had no effect on these zombie-like figures, like throwing eggs against a stone. Nothing to show for it. Boom, boom, boom. The Thunder Lord's bright gray eyes slowly focused on the vanishing demonic clouds of the Nether Abyss, yet the once dazzling thunder that surrounded him now appeared faint and dim. Even the corners of his mouth were stained with a deep crimson blood stain. Why has their power become so terrifying? Or perhaps, is there something in the Nether Abyss suppressing my strength? The Thunder Lord's gaze grew sharp, his jade-like hand raised as he viciously swung at the group. The void twisted, and bursts of violent, thunderous energy erupted from his command. Boom! Mu Feng, master of the no-return furnace, along with nearly a dozen elite warriors, completely ignored the Thunder Lord's attack, joining forces to instantly shatter the Thunder Lord's assault. Within the entire Nether Abyss, a relentless torrent of attacks continued, yet no energy ripples transmitted outward. The battle persisted for several minutes, when suddenly, a few sharp wind-breaking sounds interrupted the situation. Your Majesty, Thunder Lord, do you require assistance? 3 beams of eerie light appeared, quickly arriving at the Thunder Lord's side. Upon seeing the Thunder Lord, who was now surrounded and in a rather precarious position, Xiao Yan raised his hand to stop the 2 women beside him who were about to intervene. The animosity between the Xiao clan and the Thunder Lord was deep-rooted, and there was no sufficient evidence to prove it was all just a misunderstanding. A figure as proud and unyielding as the Thunder Lord had to endure some hardship. After all, Xiao Yan himself had suffered greatly back when they were in the Ghost Realm. Now, this scene would be a good opportunity to temper the Thunder Lord's arrogance. No need. The Thunder Lord snorted coldly, rejecting Xiao Yan's good intentions. However, the dark and evil energies surrounding him subtly suppressed much of his own power, making it difficult for him to handle the countless strong, mindless opponents before him. These guys are all powerful beings from the ferocious soul domain and our boundless fire domain. They've been controlled by the soul-controlling flower at the center of the ghost realm. With the addition of evil forces, they've turned into nothing more than mindless corpses, their power rising rapidly in a short time. Within this Nether Abyss, Your Majesty, Thunder Lord, your world-destroying thunder light can't be easily deployed. Fighting these beings is naturally quite strenuous. Xiao Yan, on the other hand, appeared completely unfazed, casually watching from the sidelines. Teacher's strength in the 6th reincarnation stage is too unstable, unable to contend with so many powerful foes. Xiao Yan, you better act quickly. Delay and things might get worse. Duan Qifei and the others arrived soon after, urgently speaking out. The level of disturbance in the air made it impossible for them to intervene. No need. Get lost. The Thunderlord, a being of great strength, certainly didn't need Xiao Yan's help. His immense, thunderous light surged once again, his eyes cold, and a terrifying killing move was unleashed without mercy, striking directly at the crowd in front of him. Xiao Yan, if this continues and they get hurt by the Thunderlord, things are going to get even more troublesome. After a brief moment, Yun spoke up. Xiao Yan nodded slightly, clearly preparing to act. Fire, come. Boom. After a brief jest, Xiao Yan's body became like an endless fiery furnace, with holy flame constantly pouring forth. In an instant, he bound these mindless, powerful beings in place. A fiery cage of flames engulfed them, continuously burning, trapping them together and rendering them immobile. Even though they were controlled, the evil energy on their bodies still radiated brightly. Yet, the power of the holy flames was undeniably strong, forcefully suppressing them. In the blink of an eye, these evil beings, who had been a significant burden on the Thunderlord, were all suppressed by Xiao Yan. The Thunderlord's gray eyes couldn't help but flash with a cold, vengeful anger. Damn! The descendants of the Xiao clan. So infuriating. These guys, are they also controlled by the soul-controlling flower? Is there any way to solve this now? Duan Qifei, seeing the situation, quickly spoke to divert attention. After all, even she didn't understand why the Thunderlord was always so enraged whenever encountering Xiao Yan. No. When I was in the soul-devouring domain, I tried to have senior sister search for an antidote, but such an antidote is like it's evaporated from existence. There's no trace of it anywhere. Xiao Yan shook his head, also feeling somewhat troubled by the scene before him. The soul-controlling flower only exists at the center of the ghost realm. Since the seven-eyed evil god had perished, these strong individuals emerging again made it clear that the situation was becoming very apparent. Interesting. Clap, clap, clap. The crisp sound of hands clapping echoed from within the clouds of the nether abyss, and a dark figure slowly emerged from within. Leader of the Ghost Realm's center, Xuan Ming. I've been waiting for you. At this moment, Xiao Yan's eyes locked firmly on the gray-robed man deep within the nether abyss. You must be Xiao Yan. I must say, you're quite extraordinary, truly worthy of being a descendant of the Xiao clan. Xuan Ming looked at the group of powerful beings before him, casually stepping out of the nether abyss clouds, a sinister and cold smile constantly on his face. The Thunderlord, however, paid no attention to Xuan Ming's words. Before his fair face, a thick, ancient thunder scripture seemed to carry some kind of ancient power that transcended the world, slowly manifesting. With the current strength of Thunderlord at the 6th reincarnation stage, coupled with the Thunder Emperor's sacred codex, he truly possessed the power to shake and slay Xuan Ming. I'm a little curious. Why are you still so confident now? Do you really think your peak strength at the 6th reincarnation stage is enough? The last person who was this confident was the seven-eyed evil god, and he's already completely fallen at my hands. Xiao Yan's gaze locked on Xuan Ming, feeling that the whole situation had been odd from the start. Still, he asked, so, why is it that you think you can still stand strong? Heh, all the information about you was naturally given to the seven-eyed evil god by me, and the cooperation plan was also something I proposed, Xuan Ming said with a wicked smile. Unfortunately, that evil god, blinded by hatred and arrogance, met his end. Destruction was inevitable. Xuan Ming raised his head and watched the dark clouds in the depths of the demonic sea begin to slowly stir, sneering coldly. As the realm lord of the Ghost Realm Center, you colluded with the extraterritorial evil clan to invade the Ghost Realm. This sin is enough to erase both your body and soul. Do you still have any evidence to present? Xiao Yan followed his gaze, but felt no immediate reaction. The only thing he sensed was an ancient, malevolent aura slowly awakening from the deep clouds of the demonic sea. My evidence is this? Xuan Ming clapped his sleeves and then turned to the crowd below, whose faces were full of confusion. He flashed them a meaningful smile. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, deep in the demonic sea, the clouds began to surge. Within the pitch-black clouds, a beastly, savage mouth seemed to open, pouring forth endless power that shook the entire demonic sea. Evil power ravaged the area, causing the void of the entire demonic sea to twist and crumble. The vast expanse of the demonic sea's void was being slowly stripped away and annihilated. What is this thing? Yuan Qi and the others' beautiful eyes narrowed, and the calm on their faces instantly froze. Even their hearts began to pound, as an overwhelming terror seeped from the depths of their souls. Who? The mouth of the nether abyss, the passage to the netherworld. This guy seems to be trying to drag us all into the netherworld at once. In that moment, a small figure, a flower spirit, suddenly emerged from Yuan Yun's delicate shoulder, screaming in panic. What? The mouth of the nether abyss? At that moment, a long-forgotten shock echoed in Xiao Yan's heart. How could it be something like this? Hearing this, the Thunder Lord's expression also turned grim. Despair spread in his heart again, and this scene seemed even more overwhelming than the pressure brought by the seven-eyed evil god earlier. Once upon a time, the fall of the seven-eyed evil god had made Duan Qifei believe that the war was already won, but Xuan Ming's actions now undeniably pointed to him as the true mastermind. The mouth of the nether abyss, leading to the netherworld, was so mysterious and strange that no force could possibly resist it. From the very beginning, this guy had planned to control countless strong figures in the boundless fire domain and the ferocious soul domain using the soul-controlling flower. After both sides were heavily wounded, he intended to drag all the slaves and puppets here into the netherworld through the mouth of the nether abyss, turning them into his loyal servants. This guy was planning to turn the countless elites now trapped in the ghost realm into his own subordinates. With great difficulty, Xiao Yan lifted his head, his mind buzzing, as though his entire understanding of the situation was being completely refreshed. The sky above the demonic sea was filled with layers of twisting clouds, resembling a black vortex. The winds howled, and everything in the void was stripped away as endless life force and energy were relentlessly pulled into the swirling abyss. Space itself was being torn away, and the black cloud of the demonic sea continued to expand, from a tiny speck of light to a massive area stretching hundreds of feet wide. The mouth of the nether abyss was growing larger, and deep within the demonic sea, it was as though a bottomless pit had been carved out, with boundless energy being slowly drawn into it. The mouth of the nether abyss led to the netherworld. The netherworld was a place Xiao Yan would eventually visit, but earlier, the Golden Dragon King had warned him not to rashly enter the netherworld. Xiao Yan believed that his uncle's warning was filled with good intentions. The mouth of the nether abyss is expanding. Once it pulls us in, we will never escape. Knowledge about the netherworld in the Great Thousand Worlds is nearly non-existent. At this moment, the Thunder Lord seemed like a completely different person, her aged face now filled with a sense of grand understanding of the universe. Clearly, only she could handle this situation. The group looked up at the expanding, howling mouth of the nether abyss, seeing only endless, strange, and mottled patterns being engraved in the void as the abyss passed through. The twisted demonic sea churned, the clouds rolling and dragging the mouth of the nether abyss, its glaring cracks shifting with every passing moment, making everyone's heart and mind heavier than ever before. Such a vast celestial mouth, once it swallows the void of the demonic sea, will devour countless realm dragons of the ferocious soul domain and the ghost realm. Why does something like this have to be done by women? Xiao Yan sneered coldly and walked straight up to Thunder Lord. You. Thunder Lord stared at Xiao Yan and was suddenly struck by the overwhelming aura, one that only the Xiao clan's bloodline possessed. Xun'er, trust me? Xiao Yan seemed to notice the change in expression of the two women behind him and immediately spoke gently. At this moment, someone had to step forward. Otherwise, once the mouth of the nether abyss expanded, the consequences would be unimaginable. Can we avoid this? We can just retreat to the ferocious soul domain's headquarters. At this moment, Mu Yingying's eyes turned red and wet again. The mouth of the nether abyss was vast and filled with malevolent energy. Once Xiao Yan was trapped inside, It would likely be a death sentence. Having just survived the shocking appearance of the seven-eyed evil god, now they were facing another life-or-death separation. The Ghost Realm is also an inseparable part of the Great Thousand Worlds. We can't just abandon it, can we? Facing Mu Yingying's sobs, Xiao Yan stretched out his broad hand, gently smoothing her long hair, his voice hoarse and bitter. You'll die. Come back alive. Looking at the smiling Xiao Yan, Mu Yingying's voice choked, and tears began to fall. We'll be waiting for you. Yun silently extended her hand, the pure white origin of the sacred flame lying quietly in her palm. All right, I will come back alive. Xiao Yan reached out and took the 3 sacred flames from Mu Yingying and Yun's hands, pulling them into a warm embrace. What can we do? At this moment, looking at the scene before them, Duan Qifei and Yun Qi could only helplessly speak up. Protect this land. Xiao Yan smiled faintly, his gaze suddenly sharp. Xuan Ming was a madman, an absolute madman. Thunderlord, I leave him to you. I need to rush to the mouth of the Nether Abyss and destroy the entrance to the Netherworld. Xiao Yan's tone was serious, clearly aware of how dangerous his actions were. Ha ha ha. My 1,000-year plan will not allow you to destroy it. Moreover, with just your strength, you're still not capable of breaking the mouth of the Nether Abyss. With me here, this will be your end. But don't worry, once you all fall, I will refine you into ghost puppets and we'll enjoy endless life together in the Netherworld. Ha ha ha. Move, stop them. Xuan Ming sneered, and the vast energy of heaven and earth surged from his body, immediately engaging in a fierce battle with Thunder Lord. On the other side, the people trapped by Xiao Yan's flame cage were slowly breaking their restraints, their eyes now radiating an almost human-like aura, and they charged straight at Xiao Yan and his group. This plan had no flaws. How could Xiao Yan ruin his perfect plan? As long as he could stall them for 15 minutes, once the mouth of the Nether Abyss devoured the demonic sea's void, he would succeed. Xuan Ming, is this your century-long plan? Just as the soul-controlled experts were about to wake up and move, a faint voice suddenly echoed from the void of demons, carrying endless coldness and mockery. Whoosh! This fluctuation? Devourer of souls. At this moment, Xuan Ming's face turned icy with madness. The Devourer of Souls had entered the Shadow Soul Ghost Cave. He had originally planned to send several powerful figures to watch over him, but now this scene seemed to be beyond his expectations. Now, the Devourer of Souls had a proud look, clearly at the peak of the 5th reincarnation stage. Rip. As soon as the Devourer of Souls appeared, the dozens of controlled experts suddenly calmed down, their expressions returning to normal. You, how did you find the antidote? This scene made Xuan Ming's eyes almost burst with rage. What a perfect plan. How could there be such a change? Thanks to the backup that ghostly Sin Miao prepared for me, though he no longer needs it now. The Devourer of Souls sneered, glancing at Xiao Yan and Thunder Lord in the distance. Ha ha ha. At this point, let it explode. Faced with this scene, Xuan Ming's voice grew maniacal, and monstrous waves of energy surged forth, exploding in all directions. Teacher, Xiao Yan urgently shouted. Little one, we'll take care of him. The matter of the Nether Abyss is in your hands. The 2 mighty experts exchanged a glance and then engaged Xuan Ming in battle, unleashing an overwhelming offensive. Go back. The mouth of the Nether Abyss will not spread beyond this realm. The demonic sea churned as 3 figures, including the Devourer of Souls, unleashed a devastating attack in an instant. Xiao Yan's expression turned bitter as he spoke to the women before him. While your powers are remarkable, this level of combat is far too overwhelming for you to participate in. Moreover, the countless armies under the command of the Realm Lord Xuan Ming and the high ranks of the ferocious soul domain still need your direct involvement. But, among the women, Duan Qifei and Yun Qi silently nodded. Only Mu Yingying and Yun stood frozen in midair, their expressions dazed and filled with sorrow as they remained motionless. Despite having made up their minds, the impending separation still weighed heavily on their hearts. They knew that this farewell might very well be the last. However, In the face of such a great catastrophe, their strength seemed as insignificant as sand particles, unable to assist Xiao Yan in any meaningful way. The Netherworld. It may well be the birthplace of demonic power. I possess both demonic power and the undying and eternal force. This single-sided mouth of the Nether abyss cannot defeat me. Xiao Yan grasped the delicate hands of the two women, his face serious, as though making a solemn promise. Wait for my return. After a brief pause, the two women, their faces etched with sorrow and reluctance, managed to force a smile through their tears in response to Xiao Yan's words. Go. The four women vanished in a flash, taking with them those freed from the devourer of souls' control, such as Mu Feng. With their help, the forces of the evil army outside the demonic sea were no longer a threat. Victory was only a matter of time. However, the greatest threat of this war still lay in the mouth of the Nether abyss, slowly raging and expanding within the demonic sea. If Xiao Yan failed to contain its spread, not only would he perish, but the entire realm could fall under the control of Realm Lord Xuan Ming. At that point, this so-called ghost realm void would likely be reduced to a true wasteland. Who? What is that? Above the ferocious soul domain, a deafening roar echoed through the skies as a wild black hurricane howled, seemingly carrying an incomprehensible and overwhelming power. The disturbance felt like a divine punishment from a supreme ruler, shaking the hearts of countless powerful beings. These warriors, the remaining elites of the endless fire domain and the ferocious soul domain, had their spirits crushed under the weight of this immense force. Cold-blooded general, the armies of the extraterritorial evil clan are suddenly collapsing, as if devoured by some evil creature. Amidst the chaos of battle, some figures darted through the air, discussing the situation on the battlefield. What is it? Retreat. Cold-blooded general, sensing something, suddenly looked up, his weary eyes sunken and on the verge of exploding in shock. He seemed to have witnessed the true side of the apocalypse. Whitebone Elder and the other elites of the endless fire domain stood on the edge of the demonic sea, gazing upward in stunned disbelief. The scene before them had far surpassed their understanding. Within the demonic sea, a massive, evil mouth surged, spreading and churning through the vast expanse of the sea, as if everything it touched would be utterly torn apart and annihilated. Retreat the army. At that moment, countless feelings of despair overwhelmed the hearts of many powerful beings. Led by Duan Qifei, several women let out cold snorts. Fall back. The cold-blooded general and his forces raised their arms in unison, leading the remaining warriors as they fled the demonic sea, heading towards the headquarters of the ferocious soul domain. As the forces regrouped, the entire headquarters of the ferocious soul domain was filled with humans, with every inch occupied by troops, creating an impenetrable barrier. Almost everyone instinctively clenched their fists, their eyes fixed on the churning demonic sea, which radiated an overwhelming malevolent aura. Within the demonic sea, countless twisted fragments of void began to fall, as the black hurricane mouth expanded, causing a dizzying sensation. At this moment, the mouth of the Nether abyss seemed like a vortex from heaven and earth, howling mercilessly, tearing apart and devouring everything in its path. What exactly is that thing? A powerful figure in the crowd could not help but ask, feeling helpless, as if their only option now was to wait silently. Realm Lord. This evil mouth has no force that can resist it. No matter what destructive attack we unleash, it is easily devoured by it. The leader of the ferocious soul guard's face darkened, a look of self-reproach appearing on his face. The overwhelming evil aura, along with an eerie and mysterious energy, lingered throughout the void, a low, mournful wail echoing as the cries of souls faded into it, creating the horrifying image of a hellish world destroying all living beings within it. On Xiao Yan's palm, 3 source flames of the sacred flame erupted with an intense surge of energy. He then glanced toward the depths of the demonic sea, where several figures, exuding a tremendous battle aura, were locked in a fierce confrontation. He muttered with a smile. The Devourer of Souls had reached the peak of the 5th reincarnation stage. With the power of the Thunder Lord, dealing with Xuan Ming, the Realm Lord, was naturally no issue. The immediate priority now was the mouth of the nether abyss. Boom! His eyes turned fierce, and the dragon god transformation instantly activated, enveloping his body in flames of nearly 10 different colors. With a leap, he dove straight into the mouth of the nether abyss. The mouth of the nether abyss was unlike any formation or combat technique. Its creation was extremely complex, and only Xuan Ming might know its true nature. However, one thing was certain. It could not be destroyed. Thus, the only way to break it was to leap inside and investigate further. No one knew what lay within the mouth of the nether abyss, or what kind of danger it concealed. With a powerful jump, Xiao Yan plunged into the abyss. Suddenly, the world around him was shrouded in darkness. Black matter began to emerge, and dark rain fell quietly, striking his skin, bones, and flesh without any sign of disturbance. Xiao Yan felt as though his body had plunged into a swamp, sinking deeper with each passing moment. Ao roar hiss. The sounds of wailing ghosts and howling wolves filled the air. A sorrowful, violent energy surged from the black rain, slowly devouring Xiao Yan's willpower. The soul-shaking roars echoed through his mind, like the simultaneous howls of countless savage beasts. The sense of terror was so real that it was the first time Xiao Yan truly felt how close he was to death. Was this the entrance to the netherworld, or a passage to hell? Countless forces eroded Xiao Yan's being, and the malicious demonic sounds rolled in like an endless tsunami. The cold dread was unshakable. It felt as though each wave of impact struck the most vulnerable parts of Xiao Yan's body, causing agony like intense spasms that seemed almost unbearable. Hoo-hoo! If this is the end of the world, then pull me along. Let us destroy everything together. His limbs and bones trembled in unison. A tingling sensation ran through every blood vessel and meridian, and Xiao Yan slowly closed his eyes, feeling the numerous raindrops around him suddenly morph into evil, demonic hands. These hands viciously pulled at him. When those demonic hands touched his body, an ancient, malevolent aura seemed to flow through him, filling him with a mad, ecstatic frenzy. It seemed that the mouth of the nether abyss was connected to